What's good, y'all? It's your boy, the Ultimate Rage, coming back with yet another live. So make sure you check out my TikTok at the Ultimate Rage 9 and the Ultimate Rage 079. Make sure you follow me on every other platform at the Ultimate Rage. That's Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, Rumble, Facebook, Discord, Reddit. Everywhere I'm the Ultimate Rage. So, anyway, so basically, I'm here to talk about what is our purpose as human beings? What is our purpose as humanity, as American citizens? What is our goal? What is the point of us being here? What is exactly our values? What is our reason for being? What are we aiming and striving to accomplish? We are actually on the cusp a new paradigm shift based on a lot of the technological advances that have been happening. But let's take a step back and look at why these advances are happening. What is fueling the advancement, and why is our society lagging behind as a result? We are working towards understanding the nature of our reality as much as possible. That is our ultimate goal. The more that we understand our reality, the more that we can manipulate it to our collective benefit. Once we actually understand what is actually going on, we can use that information to say, hey, we can tweak this over here. Let's tweak that over there. Let's fix this. Let's fix that. Actually, let's see if we can make it even better than it was before. So, one of the reasons why a lot of people are opposed to progress is because they like to stay steeped in ignorance. They like to continue believing their preconceived notions, and they absolutely can't stand it when those notions are challenged. My bad, y'all. Not that there's anyone here, but a lot of people like to stay steeped in their ignorant ideas and ideals. They don't like to have their views challenged. They don't like to have their ideas put to the test. They want to live in their own little world where they just believe whatever they want to believe, and if the reality does not comport with what they claim, whatever, just let them believe what they want to believe. Now, normally, I might say, okay, whatever. As long as what you believe is super benign, you can just keep that over there. We'll stay over here, and we can coexist peacefully. However, the problem is that we have so many people in positions of power, in positions of decision making, in positions of wealth, where not only do they believe these notions, but they also believe in legislating these notions on the rest of us. And that is what has caused us to be in such a dire state of current day humanity. That's why I always tell everybody all the time that the United States currently ranks 129th on the Global Peace Index out of a total 163 countries. And it is absolutely positively absurd that we could be in the modern age where we have all this connectivity, where we have all this technology, all this ability for trading information, but we still have people out here who don't want to ensure that the information that they are trading is actually accurate, is actually valid, actually comports with the reality that we inhabit. We have people out here who have their own personal agendas, and those agendas supersede the truth. They supersede reality. They supersede improving the quality of life for all the rest of us. Because they got theirs, so they want to keep it that way at all costs. But the problem is that their selfishness, their unwillingness to actually help humanity improve the quality of life for us all, creates an untenable situation where we're pretty much creating a ticking time bomb. It's only a matter of time until the people decide that we're going to rebel against the status quo. And the thing is, it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be where we're all anxious and worried about the next paycheck, or worried about the next bill, or worried about the next medical issue that we end up dealing with that could potentially bankrupt us. Because the truth of the matter is that the current state of affairs is not compatible with a modern age where we're all enjoying a high quality of life. And that is the reason why it's so difficult for us all to actually reach any kind of conclusions about anything. And furthermore, one of the bigger issues is the fact that we have all these entities, these giant corporations who have their own agenda, who want to ensure that they can maximize profits, minimize costs at all costs, even if it's to the detriment of the rest of us. So that's the reason why we see so much censorship. It's the reason why we see so much propaganda peddling. So many people who are unwilling to accept the truth. Like, I just watched a video on Reddit about some lady that was being interviewed by this news organization or whatever, and they asked her about nuclear weapons and things of that nature, because I guess she was Afghani or some kind of Middle Eastern. And long story short, she told them about how she doesn't trust America because of our storied history of causing destabilization and using nuclear weapons on other countries. We're the only country in the world that's actually used the nuke. And these forms of data and information are not taught in schools. They're not being communicated to the children of the future who need to understand the context of how we got to where we are. And one of the reasons why it's so difficult is because the power to be do not want them to know. Most of the things that I've learned about reality, I didn't learn in school. I learned them by the internet or by being taught by actual educators who cared about us knowing the truth. I attended an elementary school where we were specifically taught about, you know, the plight of Black Americans and slavery, Jim Crow, all these different things. We learned about all these different prominent figures who helped to lead to our emancipation. People like Marcus Garvey, Phyllis Wheatley, Harriet Tubman, Sojourner Truth, freaking obviously Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and Thurgood Marshall. I mean, it's so many people, Black people, who've helped us to achieve prominence and a bit of independence in this nation that was literally acting fascistically against us, that promoted such extreme hyper-capitalism. And I tell people all the time, slavery is capitalism in its purest. And what I mean by that is this: when you're a capitalist, your goal is maximizing profit, minimizing costs. And what better way to minimize costs than to achieve free labor? Now, of course, it would be nice if people just willingly volunteered to help you. But in an economy where you have a system of exchange, people aren't going to be the most willing to work for free unless there's some other kind of direct benefit that they can gain from it. And so currently we have internships where people can gain experience and use that experience to potentially find other positions where they could use that experience, right? Like, that's the point of internships, that you're getting a first-hand, hands-on training for a specific role where you can either become an employee of that company or you can go somewhere else and use that experience to show employers that, hey, I have direct experience in this specific field, therefore you should hire me, right? But back in the day, there was no such thing as internships. It was literally you were forced at gunpoint to work for somebody else so that they could reap the benefits. And if you didn't comply, well, you had to face the consequences. Let's just put it like that. Keep it PG for for YouTube. So this is exactly what capitalism is in its purest form. But see, because we're human beings, we don't like forced to do things that we don't want to do, especially with the threat of violence and the potential of losing our lives, losing our homes, losing our families as a result. So our people fought tooth and nail in the face of danger to achieve emancipation, because we're not going to stand for that stuff. And so now in the modern age, people have gotten so used to the freedoms that came from having a, you know, a society where they don't have to worry about being a slave. They don't have to worry about being forced to work against their will, except for the fact that it's actually starting to become that now again. You have these employers who have all the leverage, who try to force workers to work more, to accept less conditions, you know, to accept limited vacation days, to have to work excessive amounts of hours just to try to get a paycheck. And despite how hard a lot of people work, they still live paycheck to paycheck. And then on top of that, we have all these propaganda peddlers that love to assert that those who are the most successful in our country are the hardest workers and that they deserve it, when we know that that couldn't be further from the truth. Now, obviously, I'm not saying everybody. There's a lot of people who work hard and did achieve great success, and I'm not trying to poo-poo that, right? But at the same time, let's not pretend like there aren't people out here who gained wealth through legacy, or gained wealth on the backs of others, who gained wealth by exploiting the labor of others. Let's not pretend like that doesn't happen today, right? I have a friend who was telling me about how he was working for a company, and he wrote a script for that company that helped them make a decent amount of money, helped them cut a bunch of costs. And they tried to have him sign over the code for this script. Just hand it over with no compensation. And he was like, yo, I'm not doing that. And see, here's the problem we have. We live in a land where these corporations, rich people, they have all the leverage. And if you don't know any better, you can be manipulated into giving up the little leverage you do have. That's how exploitation works. As an example, we're all citizens of America, right? But not everybody knows all the laws in America. The laws are constantly changing. And while, you have, C-SPAN, you have the internet, how many people are actually keeping up to date with current laws, other than on specific controversial issues like this affirmative action decision that was made by the Supreme Court, or the striking down of Joe Biden's student debt relief program? But I'm talking about just the day-to-day things that are decided upon. People are not kept up to date with that. And people don't seek to stay up to date with that, because why would they do that? Everybody has their jobs, they're working all these hours, so that when they go home, all they're trying to do is hang out and chill. Watch TV, watch movies, play games, participate in actions that keep their mind off of the day-to-day minutia of law and what have you. But that's precisely what the problem is, right? Because here in America, we've become a hyper-capitalist, plutocratic, oligarchical, conquistocratic, kleptocratic, gerontological, theocratic corporatocracy. And the reason why this is important is because when you don't have an actually representative democracy, If you're not up to date on the laws that are passed, you won't realize how your rights are being violated, how your rights are being taken away from you, and how you're being exploited, how all of us are being exploited. As an example, our taxpayer dollars. We don't get to decide how our taxpayer dollars are spent. All we get to decide, we really don't really get to decide much of anything. Yes, we vote, but voting in America these days is a sham. There's no oversight. There's no real way to ensure that the votes are being properly counted. And even if we were to accept that they were, all we get to vote on is who gets in the office. That's it. And that's all for some offices. We don't even get to decide the actual policies that get passed because we're not the politicians and we're not in the rooms to determine what should and shouldn't happen. So as a result of that, we're basically leaving it up to these representatives to make laws, and if they don't do the things that we want them to do, we just gotta accept it. That doesn't sound very democratic to me, if you ask me. I could be wrong. You know, maybe I'm full, maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm just uninformed, maybe I'm just ignorant. But at the end of the day, we do not live in a democracy. And the fact that we don't live in a democracy is what's hindering our ability to progress as a society. Because let's face it, America's never been a democracy. How can you have a democracy when you have a land that holds people as slaves? How can you have a democracy when the people who were slaves are being discriminated against? When you have various different groups of people being discriminated against, lawfully being discriminated against. That's the reason why I don't pay much attention to 4th of July, because at the same time that they were saying that all men are created equal, they were saying that my people were 3/5 of a person. So on the face of it, our country is a hypocrite and has been from the jump. It's never been a democracy. That's why I take great offense from people who say things like, we're losing our democracy. If someone like Trump gets in the office, we might not have a democracy left. Oh. Knock it off. What democracy are you talking about? You talking about slavery, the democracy that occurred during slavery, or are you talking about the democracy of Jim Crow? Maybe you're talking about the democracy of COINTELPRO. Maybe you're talking about the democracy from MK Ultra. Maybe you're talking about the democracy of the Patriot Act, or maybe the democracy of the NSA prison program. Because last time I checked, these were things that were not indicative of a democracy. And so it doesn't surprise me one bit that there's still people out here who will say these types of things, because at the end of the day, we have all been bamboozled, hoodwinked, run amok, and led astray. There's so much propaganda that's being purported out there, and it's extraordinarily difficult to get through to people that this shit has fucked us all up. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, you can't have a democracy when people are considered subhuman. You can't. You can't expect to progress as a society when you can just decide that certain people aren't worthy of basic human rights and human decency. And So many people have been misled to believe that that's the state of affairs that we have. But all it takes is just to open your eyes and see the world for what it is, to realize that we do not live in a well-functioning society, even though we have all the tools, all the capabilities of making ourselves a well-functioning society. But it's kind of difficult when you have algorithms like freaking YouTube that don't in front of you. Despite the fact that I have been super duper consistent doing these lives, I can't get you to check out my videos, to actually follow me, to get YouTube to put me in front of your eyes, because they don't want you to see me. They don't want you to hear me. They don't want you to know what the hell I'm talking about. At the end of the day, the powers that be want to ensure that they maintain power at all costs. And if that means suppressing little old me, they'll do it, because who cares, right? Who cares about what this random dude on YouTube has to say? He ain't got no followers. He ain't got no, big, huge brand. He ain't got no money. He ain't got no money. So why should we listen to him? And that's how they get you. They get you to think that if somebody does not have a bunch of pieces of green paper, that they're not worth listening to. Even though I demonstrated to myself that I could actually accrue followers, accrue money, when the algorithm is putting me in front of them. That's one of the reasons why I've been so, frustrated with dealing with TikTok. Because when I was doing lives on TikTok, when I figured out my style, I was getting followers every day. I mean, every single day. Every time I do a live, it was 20 to 100 people. Easy. And like I said, I barely even scratched the surface on what I could accomplish. Because I got too many haters, I accrued too many violations, and it led to me ultimately getting banned from doing YouTube lives. And I just did I just came from a little webinar about Web3 and how Web3 is going to influence content creation going forward. And so I was telling them my story about how I was suppressed on TikTok, how I was building a following, but I guess what they call scrubbers, the scrubbers were able to get me, right? Because I said certain words that they don't like. And I realized that this is how they stifle free speech. Because for one, they don't tell you that there are certain words or phrases that you can't say until you say them, and then you get banned or you get removed. You get your live cut off, right? Because the scrubbers don't account for actual context. They don't account for the meaning behind what you're saying. They only focus on the literal words. So I was telling them I got banned from TikTok because I said I could get you a bunch of drugs, even though they didn't account for the actual context of what I was saying that term, that phrase in. And so the point is, it's too much censorship. And corporations have undermined free speech by preventing you from using free speech, by suppressing those who say things that they don't like, that they deem is not good. And the thing that's crazy, as many times as these social media companies will modify their community guidelines, at the end of the day, it's still up to them to decide what's acceptable and what's not. And it's just another example of how we've become an extreme corporatocracy. It's another example of how corporations have been given carte blanche to usurp or circumvent our rights as American citizens. Because at the end of the day, these corporations Yes, they're private entities. Yes, they own their platforms. But at the end of the day, we're still Americans. We still have the right to be heard. If I say something you don't like, you don't have to listen to me. You don't have to follow me. You don't have to watch my videos. Don't have to watch my lives. You can just go on about your day and pretend like I don't even exist. That's exactly what I do when I see other people I don't like. I don't report people just because I don't like them. In fact, the only time I report people is when they're spamming me, and scamming me. Or if they get on my live and do some crazy shit. Like one time I was on, I was on TikTok live one time, and this guy comes on. Now I was asking theists, "Where's God? Where's God?" Right? And this one guy's like, "Yeah, you want to know where God is? I can show you God." I already got the troll vibes from him. And I knew he was gonna do some crazy bullshit. And I was just like, dude, if you fucking do some crazy shit, getting dropped like a bad habit. It's like, no, I'm dead serious, man. And I already knew he was full of shit. And what happened? The dude pointed his camera at a laptop that played a video of some dude jerking his chain. I'll put it like that. And climaxing. Just put it like that. Right? And I didn't even report the dude. One of my followers reported him, but like, the point is, I don't be on social media wasting my time going to other people's lives and hating all the time. Right? As an example, I'm an atheist and anti-theist. I'm not going around to different Christian content creators and Muslim content creators and any other theistic content creators and reporting them and thumbing them down and typing all types of hateful shit. If I see something I don't like, I just move on. I might hit it with a thumbs down, but other than that, I'm not even looking for that nonsense. Now, if somebody suggests something to me, I'll check it out, and then I might comment on there, hey, this is bullshit. But the point is, I'm not actively seeking this stuff, because it's not worth it to me. Okay? I'm a content creator myself. I'm trying to create my own content. I ain't got time to be going around checking out other people's shit that does nothing for me. My goal is actually making sure that I create my content. And if you come to me, then I will challenge your views. I will challenge your preconceived notions if you're purporting nonsense that doesn't comport with reality. No problem doing that. But I'm not going to be nice about it, though. I'm not going to be some happy-go-lucky, well, you see, I disagree. I really feel that if you do this like that and you say it like this, then maybe you might be... No, I'm going to tell you straight up. No, wrong. That was bullshit. Knock it off. Right? But then the question becomes, what exactly... What is the line between telling somebody the harsh truth and bullying someone? The reason why this is all relevant is because we're in the modern age. And if we're going to be in the modern age, then we have to be real about everything. Because now that we have so much interactivity, that we have so much interconnectivity, that we have all this mass communication, it's going to be a tough road actually moving along as a human species. So now we got to go back to the drawing board. We got to go back to square one. We got to actually understand what the nature of our reality is. We got to get in tune with reality so that then we can actually do whatever it takes to improve upon our reality, to improve our quality of life for ourselves and everybody else. We have to have real conversations about the best way to move forward. And it's not going to happen with people capping all day, purporting nonsense, asserting BS, and acting like, well, if you just believe whatever you want to believe, it's going to magically lead to a better society. It's not. We actually have to have real tough, difficult conversations. It's going to take people getting their feelings hurt. It's going to take people having to actually realize that the things that they believe might actually not be true. That is, thank you for whoever came on, and thank you for the like, and stick around. But yeah, like, we have to have real conversations about the best way to move forward as a species, as American citizens, because having BS conversations or just getting into echo chambers and just asserting BS all day gets us nowhere. There has to be actual metrics that determine how well of a job that we're doing. And that's why I always talk about the Global Peace Index and how, despite there being 163 countries on this list, the United States, which is supposed to be the greatest country in the world, ranks 129th. We are failing miserably to create a well-functioning society for ourselves, which is why we see so much chaos. All you gotta, I mean, look at yesterday. I didn't even see it being widely reported like that, but did you know there was another mass shooting yesterday in Philadelphia? I think they said 5 people lost their lives, 4 people were injured. These are becoming so common that it's barely a blip on the news radar because it's constantly happening all the time. And if we're to be a well-functioning society, we have to collectively admit and understand this is not good. So what are the practical steps for preventing these things from happening going forward? And I'm sorry to break it to you, but thoughts and prayers ain't gonna cut it. They don't cut it. They don't. I'm sorry. If you are a theist, if you're somebody super religious, sorry to break it to you, but believing that the Lord will somehow change anything at any point in time ain't changing nothing. It's gonna take us working together interdependently with synergy to rack our brains to figure out the best course of action to solve these problems. And that's one of the reasons why it's so difficult for us to progress, because there are so many among us who do not want to participate. They want to purport their notions. They want to assert their beliefs as the best methodology, despite thousands of years of evidence showing that that's not the case. So how can we ever expect to progress as human beings if we're constantly having the same ridiculous conversations over the most menial bullshit topics that we've been having for thousands of years? It's time to do away with these notions. It's time to get in tune with reality so we can figure out the best course of action moving forward. How do we actually improve upon our quality of life here in America and all around the world? Authoritarianism isn't helping us do that. Plutocratic, oligarchical, conquistocratic, kleptocratic, gerontological, theocratic corporatocracy ain't helping us do that. I know that was a mouthful, but people having all the resources and leaving us with freaking pennies, leaving us with crumbs, that's not helping us create a well-functioning society. With all the advancing technologies, with AI and machine learning and freaking quantum computing, we're on the cusp of a completely new paradigm, and we have to get society to be compatible with this new paradigm, because there are too many people among us who have no idea what exactly is going on, and they don't know that eventually things are going to change very drastically. That's what the singularity is all about, because we're seeing so much advancement occurring. Just within the past 20 years, we've seen so much change. You know what I'm saying? I can show you the cell phone I had when I was in high school back in 2003, 2004 to this cell phone, the Galaxy S21 Ultra. It's a world of difference. just in 20 years. You know what I'm saying? I had this old brick of a freaking Nokia where it barely even had a screen on it. On the screen, all you could see was just the numbers that you were typing in. You couldn't freaking surf the internet with that. You couldn't get news updates with that. You couldn't play games with that. You know what I'm saying? You couldn't live stream with that. Even the concept of live streaming didn't even exist. Or barely. It was just in its infancy. Now, we're all able to stream. If you have a YouTube account, pretty much you can stream. You can stream, you can take phone calls, you can send an email, you can have an IM conversation with somebody on various different apps at the same time. You can talk to the same person on Twitter, Instagram, freaking YouTube, Discord, Kick, all these different apps at the same time. At the same damn time. 2 conversations at the same damn time. You can do that right now, among other things. So the point is, the technology is rapidly advancing, and it's accelerating in this advancement. That's what the singularity is all about. If you have any understanding of geometry, the exponent, it's a freaking curve. It moves like this. It moves like this, right? And so so the barrier that the exponent is going against is what's called the asymptote. That's the point where the exponent starts to accelerate in its rise to the point where it just shoots all the way straight up. That's what the singularity is about. It's about the fact that technology is advancing so fast, so much, that it's going to hit a point, which is called the singularity, where the advancement is just so extreme that humanity is forever changed. And we have to prepare ourselves socially, collectively, as a human species, as American citizens, for this to happen. And it starts right here, right now, with us having real conversations, understanding what exactly our purpose is as human beings, as American citizens. What are we collectively trying to accomplish? And the fact of the matter is that if we can't even agree on the most basic fundamental aspects of reality, we're never going to even come close to achieving a purpose, because we won't be able to even say what our purpose is. But I'll say what our purpose is. Our purpose is to understand the nature of our reality as much as possible so that we manipulate that reality to our collective benefit. How do we understand reality, and how do we use that newly gained knowledge to improve our quality of lives as Americans, as human beings? What kind of technologies can we develop as a result of this new data? And how will this technology impact our lives such that we have a tangibly clear-cut improved quality of life? So as an example, social media. Social media is the gift and the curse, because on one hand, it allows us the ability to actually interconnect. You and I can talk despite potentially being thousands and thousands of miles apart from each other in real time, as if we're right next to each other, as if we're in the same room with each other. Despite the lag of technology, we can talk and have a real conversation as if you're sitting right here with me. But at the same time, because of social media, we're being exposed to the chaos in our society. We're being exposed to the different gender norms, to social norms, the things that have a negative impact on our youth. You know, the beauty standards and the wealth standards. How if you're not a ballin' ass dude, you a lame. If you ain't a fine ass, thick ass chick, you ain't shit. And it starts young. We got people in high school growing up with social media. People freaking 13, 14 can get thousands, millions of followers just by being them. But then, how does that affect people? Like, shout out to my homie Jay. Like, my homie Jay was telling me about how, you know, he grew up with social media. Like, I grew up with social media, but not like the way it is now. Like, when I was in high school, we had websites like Black Planet, MySpace, different forums, and things like that. You know what I'm saying? Friendster, Tagged, High Five. You know, remember those? But like, it's not like how it is now, where we have so much interconnectivity. People can say all types of stuff, and social media can influence people's behavior, which is why we have social media influencers now. And then the problem with that is that only certain social media influencers are given carte blanche to do whatever the hell they want. But then you have people like me who get censored, who get stifled, who like is being actively suppressed from actually influencing people, because see, the powers that be benefit from the chaos that we have. And that's why it's so difficult for us to progress as a society, because there are different entities that are at work to ensure that we stay in this chaotic state so that they can benefit. The prison industrial complex, the pharmaceutical industrial complex, just the industrial complex in general. All of these industries benefit from the current state of affairs. Weapons manufacturers, freaking private contracting paramilitary companies, you know, construction companies, all these different industries that benefit from the chaos that currently exists. And so that's why they want to suppress someone like me, because I will actually teach people how to be reasonable, how to be logical, how to think logically. And I don't claim to be some super duper logical genius or anything like that. I just have, you know, I consider myself to be the modern day Socrates. I challenge people's notions and assertions because I want what's best for us all. If you claim that your methodology will help us, I want you to demonstrate it to me right here, right now. It's 2:41 p.m. Central Standard Time, July 5th, 2023. And if you're claiming that whatever it is that you're talking about is the truth and the best way to go about doing things, then it is incumbent upon you to demonstrate it to me and all the rest of us that your methodology works. Because if it works, great, let's do it. I'm all aboard anything that demonstrably works. And that's what we all should be. But if your way does not work, if you're telling me that your way, well, you know, the thing is, the Lord, right? His, like, he works in mysterious ways. So therefore, like, even if you pray all day, you're still subject to whatever it is you're subject to. And, you know, God, you know, he gave us. How is that helping us? How is that helping us cure cancer? How is that helping us end homelessness, end poverty, stop the corruption in our government? How does it allow us to become a better, more well-functioning society? Oh, that's right. It doesn't help us at all. It hasn't helped us. And we have made these technological advancements in spite of these theological assertions, not because of these theological assertions. Yeah, sure, there have been some innovations, some buildings, some construction things that have happened influenced by the theism, by theists, but these things did not happen because of theism. And what I mean is, in order to build a building that's sturdy, that has a great foundation, you need to understand the basics of actual architecture. You have to understand how to build things. That has nothing to do with believing whether or not a God exists. You just have to be good at understanding construction, architecture. You could be an atheist, Muslim, a freaking Jedi master, and have the same understanding of building a foundation to a building as anybody else, right? But it's like, how exactly does theism help us to actually gain an understanding of the nature of our reality? How does it help us figure out technologies that are going to help us improve our quality of life, that give us better connectivity, or allow us to gain new abilities that improve our quality of life collectively? And that's the whole thing. Theism doesn't help us do that. And that's why it's important for us to do away with these kinds of ancient, antiquated notions that don't directly help us to improve. And the thing, too, is like, if you want to be religious on your own time, whatever. But when it comes to the public square, if you're going to espouse these beliefs as the truth, it is incumbent upon you to demonstrate it. All these ridiculous argumentative tactics that theists like to employ are simply nonsense. Oh, well, see, the thing is, it's my faith. I don't care about your faith. Demonstrate that your faith is rooted in reality. Therefore, you won't need faith. You'll just have knowledge because it works. And if you can't demonstrate that your faith is rooted in reality, why should anybody else respect it? Why should I respect your faith? Because all you're telling me is that you're choosing to be willingly delusional. You want to believe the sci-fi fantasy fiction that you can't demonstrate is real, but I'm supposed to respect your desire to continually believe this delusion. That makes no sense. And then we'll have people out here that'll say things like, well, why don't you just let people believe what they want to believe? They want to believe it. Why don't you just let them believe what they want to believe? Who are you to tell them what's true and what's not? So then, that's when I tell people, okay, let me give you an extreme example. Tell the Jews in Germany that they should just let Adolf Hitler believe what he wants to believe. If he believes that exterminating an entire group of people is a great idea, who are we to tell him that that's a bad idea? We shouldn't challenge his notions. No, just let him believe it. Let him execute his desires. And if it doesn't work, well, so what? He has faith that it works. His faith is that it will work. If we get rid of all the J's, if we get rid of all the JEWs, that would be a great idea. We should just let him believe it, right? Because it's his faith. It's his belief. It's his personal belief. But see, that's the problem. It's one thing if you have a personal belief that only matters to you. But when you have beliefs that impact other people, now it's time to challenge those notions. If you're telling me that we need to have the Bible be the freaking Constitution, I'm going to challenge you on that. Because you got to demonstrate to me that the Bible is worth making it our Constitution. Show me that the Bible actually comports with reality. Show me that the Bible is worth following, that it's worth respecting, that it's worth reading, that it's worth using as legislation. And if you're unwilling to demonstrate it, if you're unwilling to make your case, why should anybody listen to you? This is why I always say things like theists are the worst salespeople of all time, because they always love to espouse their nonsense, but they can never demonstrate how it works practically in the real world. And then they'll go even further and say, well, if you don't believe it, then you're going to a terrible place where you're going to be devoid of the Lord and all this nonsense. And it's like, you're not selling me on your idea. You're not convincing me that your idea works and that it's worthy of us following it. Isn't that what a good salesperson does? They actually try to convince you that it's a good idea to buy into their product or service because it can actually improve your life. Well then, if you can't do it, I'm not buying your product or service. Sorry. Sucks for you that you're not that great of a salesperson, but you're not selling me on threatening me. You're not selling me on fear-mongering me. You're not going to sell me on any of these ideas that you assert are the best way. Because at the end of the day, you still have to demonstrate that your way is the best way. And if you can't even accept that you even could possibly be wrong, there is no reason to listen to you. There's no reason to accept what you're saying as the truth. And so that's why when it comes to actually improving our society, we have to be as practical as possible. We have to be as logical and reasonable as possible. You have to demonstrate that your way makes sense. And if you can't, then I'm sorry, but we got to dismiss it. I don't care how many people agree with you. If it's possible that you can all be wrong. You can't all be right, but you can all be wrong. And so that's why now it's important to have real conversations about how we're going to progress. And so that's why I always talk about I set the goal for humanity to be reaching what's called a Kardashev Type 1 civilization. A Kardashev Type 1 civilization can harness the total energy output from their host star onto the planet. So it's like fusion energy. Once we achieve fusion energy and things of that nature, we can become a Type 1 civilization. But obviously, that's just the first step. The goal is to try to understand the complete nature of the universe, of reality as a whole. Is the universe all there is, or is there more to it? Is it a multiverse, a superverse, an omniverse, an ultraverse, a Cooper, whooper, duper, super duper ruberverse? What is it? And the goal is to try to understand it. And the more that we understand it, the more we're able to develop technologies, to develop tools that help us to further understand it. And then we figure out ways that those new understandings, those new discoveries can actually be implemented in the real world so that they can actually impact our lives directly. That's how we got these kind of devices, by actually performing experiments, performing studies that help us to actually understand the nature of our reality, that allow us to be interconnected so that we can all have actual interactions and discussions about reality so that we can get to the actual core of the problem of understanding it. We're not going to understand it by asserting that we already understand it because somebody wrote a book 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, 50 years ago, 2 years ago, 2 minutes ago, asserting that they understand it. That's the reason why I always tell people that theism is the longest running scam of all time. And it's arrogant because how can somebody in ancient times pretend like they actually understand all of humanity, understand all of the universe? These fools didn't even understand germ theory. They didn't even understand subatomic particles. They didn't even understand washing your hands before you eat. They didn't understand penicillin, but they think that they understand the totality of reality? Are you kidding me? How? Asserting that there's this being, this entity, this thing called a God that exists, and then acting like we're all supposed to just accept it and believe it with little evidence. When at the end of the day, sorry about that, the about to rain, so forgive me if the connection gets messed up. By the way, make sure you like and subscribe, and make sure you share the live with everybody, and make sure you leave comments, say what's up. Tell me what's on your mind. I'm not trying to just talk to myself here all day. But no, on some real shit, like, we actually have to try to understand the nature of our reality and not just assume that we already understand it because somebody claimed that we did. That's why all these people who claim that they have the truth and the light, I say that they are all scam artists and charlatans because they have bamboozled so many people, large swaths of people, into believing that all they gotta do is believe this nonsense and everything's gonna be hunky-dory, and we clearly see that that is not working. It's not working. Believing these nonsensical things is not stopping the mass shootings that are happening. It's not stopping the poverty that's happening. It's not stopping pandemics from happening. It's not stopping climate change from happening. It's not stopping nothing. If it worked, it would be demonstrable, and I would be the first person saying, yes, we need to jump in face first into trying to understand whatever they're talking about, that their theology, whatever it is, we need to get to the bottom of it because it works. But clearly it does not. That this group's conspiracy theories are totally legit and we need to understand it. No. The reality is that science, technology, engineering, and mathematics are our best tools for understanding the nature of our reality and manipulating that reality to our collective benefit. That's why the AI craze is happening right now. That's literally technology. And it's a tool that people can use to make all kinds of, things happen. Whether you're talking about writing a paper, coming up with ideas for videos, coming up with, different ideas for researches, or even like coming up with a drug. The other day there was a story about how AI was used to create the first AI drug. These things do not happen by magic. They happen with people working to understand the nature of our reality. That's how we came up with computing. That's how we came up with software. That's how we came up with AI. People actually figuring out how to create a tool such as a computer, such as a cell phone that we can use to actually like understand our reality and improve upon our understanding of reality. You feel what I'm saying? So that's why it's so important that we have real discussions, and that's why it's so important that we knock it off with all the social media censorship, because it's the reason why somebody like me exists. Because I don't care about anything other than the truth. All I want to know is the truth. Okay? That's the reason why I don't subscribe to religions anymore. It's the reason why I don't subscribe to a lot of political organizations anymore, because all I want to know is the truth. And I feel that our goal as human beings, as Americans, should be trying to understand the truth as much as possible. Because, as they say, the truth shall set you free. But see, the problem is the truth is anathema to delusional people. And we have a nation, a planet full of delusional people. It's the reason why TikTok shut me down on TikTok Live. And that's the reason why I'm on YouTube now. You know what I'm saying? Trying my damnedest to build a following despite the ridiculous algorithm not showing me anywhere near the amount of love that TikTok was showing me. Even though my bad. Even though TikTok, I mean, they showed me love and they showed me hate. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's so crazy. Like, it's so hard to make it when all you care about is just telling the truth. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's so hard to get people to accept the truth, to understand the truth, when it coincides with their previously held notions, when it coincides with their ridiculous worldviews. People love to believe all sorts of nonsense, and they don't want to get up off of it. They want to stay steeped in their willful ignorance. They don't want to take the time to accept and learn new information because it's so difficult. Science is not easy, because if it was easy, everybody would be scientists. But see, here's the thing. We have these tools like AI. We have more people getting into STEM, which is what's making it easier. But see, reaching new frontiers has never been easy. It's never been easy to learn new things. Even me, like, I've been studying computer programming, and it's hard. At least for me, it's fucking hard. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's very difficult for me to just constantly do it and try to wrap my head around it, because it's hard. Some people have a knack for it. Some people, it's easy as fuck for them. But for me, it's hard. But at least I can admit it's hard. Most people like to try to talk like, nah, not only is it easy, but they talk like they know what they're talking about, even though they did the slightest bit of research. The Dunning-Kruger effect in full effect. I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with people who ain't did any kind of research about anything, but they talk about all types of science as if they're geniuses. And they'll say all kinds of dumb shit, make themselves look foolish, but these people are in positions of power. These people are in positions of wealth. And these are the people legislating over us. How does that make sense? That's why I say America's become what's called a kakistocracy. We have a nation full of people who don't know what the fuck they're talking about, or worse, who are just simply compromised because they're corrupt. So they're unfit to be the people to rule us. See, it might have made sense back in 1776 when we didn't have mass communication, when we had to work the farms, we had to work the fields, and we didn't have time to participate in politics. But now we have cell phones. Now we have the internet. Now we have apps like YouTube and TikTok where we can trade information back and forth all day, every day. So now we have these sock puppets. We have these propaganda peddlers who just want to muddy the waters and make everything more difficult than it needs to be. They want to stifle any kind of truth telling. They want to ensure that bullshit and propaganda pervades the airwaves at all costs. That's the reason why in the mainstream media, they never talk about the important topics. They don't talk about COINTELPRO. They don't talk about MK Ultra. They don't talk about the NSA prison program. They're still trying to act like the perfect, amazing nation, of a beacon of wonderfulness, despite all the bullshit we see on a regular basis. All the people knee deep in all different types of forms of debt: credit card debt, student loan debt, medical debt. People struggling check to check because they have all these different bills, because they have all these different expenses, because the value of the dollar is dropping, and yet the people at the top keep making record profits. They keep getting record savings. They keep getting laws passed that help them to cut corners and get their taxes cut. And then our taxpayer dollars don't go into programs that actually help us collectively. Princeton University performed a study showing that the overwhelming majority of legislation passed in the past 40 years has overwhelmingly benefited the rich and the banks and the corporations. How is that going to help us as a collective society improve our quality of life? Oh, right, it doesn't. That's why our lifespans as Americans has been declining. That's why debt has been rising. That's why every year our government struggles to pass a debt limit bill and is faced with potential government shutdowns annually. It's become a national pastime every year. You might as well make it a holiday. Will we or won't we default on our loans? Will we or won't we end up in a government shutdown? Because at the end of the day, our country is not a well-functioning society at all. In fact, it's the opposite. We are a dysfunctional society. We are a freaking cesspool. All these different industries benefiting, and they love the way things are because it allows them to continually benefit off of our backs. However, the problem is that the situation is untenable and it can no longer stand. So, what is our purpose? Why are we here? What is our goal? What is our aim? What is our aim as Americans? What is our aim as human beings? And how are we going to achieve these aims? Well, I'll tell you like this. Our aim is to understand the nature of our reality as much as possible, in order to use that understanding to manipulate our reality to our collective benefit. How are we going to get there? Well, it starts with you and me. It starts with us. We have to work together to upend current status quo so that we can change the national paradigm, so that we can actually improve upon our collective quality of life. Because sitting back and complaining about things isn't going to get shit done. It's not. It's not. We actually have to do the hard work, and it's going to be hard. It doesn't have to be as hard as you think. The hardest part is you. If I told you all you had to do was follow me, support me, follow me on TikTok at the Ultimate Rage 9 and the Ultimate Rage 079, follow me on other social media platforms at the Ultimate Rage, donate to my Cash App at $ the Ultimate Rage, and that's how we can begin to improve our quality of life as Americans, as human beings. Would you do it? Would you do it? All you have to do is just hit a button. All you have to do is check out the Ultimate Rage Outrageous EP, available on all streaming platforms. See, would you do it? And that's the problem. It's difficult to convince people to do things like that. And that's what I find so fascinating. The fact that people are willing to give Drake their hard-earned money so that he could ball out in front of them, so he could show you all the cash he got, all the diamonds he got, all the chains he got, all the bitches he got. but you don't want to help me. Isn't that funny? So with that, I'm gonna bid you adieu. Thank you for coming through and checking me out, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Peace out.